Friends, today in this module we are going to start with the topic seed. Seed topic is a part of the post fertilization events and it occur after the double fertilization after the embryo development. So let's begin with. Now we are talking about the angiosperms. In angiosperm, the seed is the final product of the sexual reproduction. So in the sexual reproduction, the final product is the seed. It is often described as a fertilized ovule. We also use this term fertilized ovule to indicate a seed. So a fertilized ovule is known as a seed. Seed is formed inside the fruit. We know that the fruit is formed from the ovary and the seeds are formed from the ovule, and ovules are present in the ovary. So same will be there, that the seeds will be formed inside the fruit. A seed typically consists of few parts like the seed coats. It may have a single seed coat or many seed coats. Cotyledon. It may have one, so means monocot, may have two, so dicot, and the embryonic axis. So embryo axis is also present. So these are the three major parts of any typical seed. Now the cotyledon tetra present in a seed. They are very simple structures. They are very thick and they are swollen also. So these are the swollen portions of the seed, and what they contain is they contain stored food reserve material. So they are basically having the reserve food material that help the plant during the germination. When the plant germinate, it need some energy, some reserve food material is required for the germination. So that reserve food material is coming from the cotyledon. Mature seeds can be categorized into two main parts, non-albuminous or albuminous. So there are two categories of a mature seed. We can divide them into two on the basis of the presence or the absence of the endosperm. Now the non-albuminous seeds are those which have the no residual endosperm and it is completely consumed during the embryo development. So in those type of the seeds in which the endosperm is completely consumed, so that kind of a seed is known as non-albuminous. The common examples of the non-albuminous seed is like pea and groundnut. In these two type of the examples, you can see that the endosperm is completely used. Now there are few type of the seeds which retain the part of the endosperm, and the endosperm is not completely used during the embryo development. We call those seeds as the albuminous seeds. Common examples are wheat, maize, barley, castor and sunflower. So there are two categories of the seeds on the basis of the endosperm, whether the endosperm, residual endosperm is present or not. If it is present, then we call it as albuminous seeds. If it is completely used and it is not present, then we call it as non-albuminous. In some seeds, if you talk about like black pepper, beet, the remnants of the nucellus are also persistent. This residual persistent nucleus is known as the perisperm. So there are few different type of the seeds like black pepper in which the nucellus also persists. Not only the endosperm but nucellus is also persist there after the embryo development. So we call that layer as the perisperm. Let's talk about the integuments. Integuments, we know that integuments are the coverings, okay, of the ovule. So integuments of the ovule harden as tough protective seed coat. So the seed coat is prepared from the integuments, okay. The micropyle remain as a small pore in the seed coat. We know that there are two ends of the of a mature embryo sac. We know about it, like we have done in the earlier module also, that there are two ends. One is the micropyle end and one is the chalazal end. Micropyle end was that end in which the integuments were absent, right? A point where the integuments were absent. So that point, that small pore also remains in the seed as well. okay, and in the form of a small pore, and from this pore there is it will provide a facility for the entry of the oxygen and water into the seed during the germination. So that pore is majorly used for the entry of the oxygen or the water, which is aiding in the seed germination. Now as the seed mature, the water content is reduced, the seed become dry, okay, the general metabolic activities of the embryo slow down, the embryo may go to a state of inactivity, and we call it as dormancy. And whenever the favorable conditions are available, the seed germinate. So we know that we can store seeds for much long period. So how is it possible? Because in the seed, it is having a protective covering of integuments in the form of the seed coat, and it is having a germ pore for the entry of the water and the oxygen. It is having a metabolic rate which is highly reduced, it has less moisture, and it is going in a state of inactivity called dormancy, okay, and in dormancy it can remain for a long period of time whenever there is unfavorable condition, and as the conditions become favorable, it can germinate, okay. Now as the ovule mature into seed, okay, we know about the seed. Now ovule has matured into seed, the ovary will develop into fruit. The transformation of the ovule into seed and ovary into fruit proceeds simultaneously. So these two events occur side by side, means together it is going on. The ovule is developing into seed and the ovary is developing into fruit. So these two events go side by side. Now the wall of the ovary develop into the wall of the fruit, and we call it as pericarp. The fruit may be fleshy like guava, mango, orange, and they may be dry like groundnut, mustard. Many fruits have evolved the mechanism of seed dispersal of the seeds, right? There are many type of the fruits which are having which are helping out in the dispersal of the seeds, and which are aiding in the dispersal to different locations. Now in most of the plants, by the time the fruit develop from the ovary, the other floral parts which are attached with the flower, they all degenerate and they fall off because there is no need of them. However, there are few species in which, like in the apple, strawberry, cashew, the thalamus contribute in the flower formation, so we call it as a false fruit. So the fruit in which thalamus is also a part of the fruit and it is also contributing as a part of the fruit, so that is known as a false fruit, like apple, strawberry, cashew. Most of the fruits, however, develop only from the ovary and we call them as true fruit. So we have two categories of the fruits, false fruit and true fruit. In most of the species, the fruits are the result of the fertilization, but there are few species as well which develop into fruit without the fertilization. This is important, that there are mostly the fruits develop after the fertilization, but there are certain species which are making fruit without the fertilization, and such fruits are known as parthenocarpic fruits. Banana is one of the example. And how parthenocarpy, how this process is done, it is induced with the help of the application of the growth hormones, and most of these fruits are seedless. So from this topic we have come to many important terms, like I'm giving a recap again. First of all, we know about the two terms, albuminous and the non-albuminous. Albuminous and the non-albuminous. Non-albuminous, in which the endosperm is completely consumed, and albuminous, in which the endosperm remain retained. Fine, it is not completely used up, but it is present. Fine. Now we have next thing, we have read about the term perisperm. Perisperm means the type of the ovule in which the nucellus also persists. Okay, the residual nucellus is also present, so that is the perisperm. Then we have known about the term dormancy, the state of inactivity in which the fertilized ovule is in a state of a dormancy. The seeds undergo in the state of dormancy during the unfavorable conditions. Then we know about the pericarp. Pericarp is the outer covering of the fruit. Okay, the fruit is covered with a ball, we call it as pericarp. Okay, now next we know about two type of the fruits, false fruit and the true fruit. False fruit are those fruits in which thalamus is also contributing in the fruit, it is also a part of the fruit, like in apple, in strawberry. And true fruits are those fruits which are made properly from the ovary. No, thalamus is not contributing here, right? Last we came to the topic like parthenocarpic fruits which are formed without the fertilization, and banana is one of the example. They are mostly seedless and they are induced, the process is induced by the application of certain growth hormones. So I hope you all have understood about all the important terms in the topic seed. In the next module we will be discussing the next topic, that is apomixis and polyembryony. That's all for today's module. Thank you.